Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Market Trade Group, and it is Monday, October 25th. And back from vacation, I was out all last week trading part-time. So first day fully back to trade, and really a nice day to be back. Had some nice positions on coming into today, and there was a lot of momentum movers. So we'll get through the index review as we normally do in the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will talk about some of the sector movers, some of the groups, and of course some of the names that stood out today. Risk disclaimer: everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only. You could go through and read this on your own. If the screen is a little bit blurry, it's just because YouTube does take a little bit of some time to render the high definition version of their videos, so just sit tight for that. All right, so let's go over that index performance. As I mentioned, really a couple standouts here, and I actually need to highlight the Qs because they were up 1% for the day. Particularly strong towards the back end of the afternoon. Small caps were basically strong for most of the day. They were up 1%. We're going to look at that chart. Everybody kind of has eyes on that in terms of wanting to see a breakout in that, or a move out of the range. So let's start with the S&P first. We've got some nice continuation here. You had a doji candle on Friday in S&P futures. Kind of just a little bit of a shakeout day, in terms of that Powell speech that we heard on Friday. Market had time to absorb that and get over it, and then we started futures last night a little bit in the red, but the way that this market has been going along, you almost want a little bit of red or unchanged going into that Sunday night futures, and then we kind of rallied through the pre-market session and closed on the highs of the day. We had a little bit of a VIX pop. I thought the first hour of the day was a little bit tricky. That's always why I'm looking to kind of take profits in the first 15-20 minutes in terms of any swing trades that I have on. But you could see that was just, kind of gave another bit of a buying opportunity. We came right down to the bottom of value for the day and held it quite nicely, and then we moved higher. Right. Again, this value area is based on when we're on the 5-minute chart. It's based on Friday's activity. Right. So that does create resistance, support, volume at price is what we use, and we use the MarketWeb's indicator to help us with that. And a nice move, and then there was another buy and balance. So again, very different than what we saw a couple weeks ago, where it was steady. In September, it was steady MOC, market on close, sell-in balances. Right, we saw a lot of those institutions like mutual funds were selling at the end of the day. Well, now just like we said, it's kind of, to me, it's completely backwards, but this is how it works, is they love to sell certain times of the year, and then they have to go right back and buy it back at higher prices, right? That's why I think it's so much better to be an individual investor right now in this market. You don't have to do any of those crazy things, right? You don't have to sell everything, right at the end of the month of September and then have to buy it all back in October. But that's just the way. That's what their mandate is to do, so that's what they do. So that is S&P. We are back out to new highs. Nasdaq, like I said, very strong. Nasdaq futures are rallying a little bit after the Facebook results. Up 1.3% for the session, and out of this little consolidation period, we talked about this pre-market and kind of just said, hey, this was not like anything unusual to see this, after a big decent move, consolidation around the point of control, which is the biggest area of volume based on the last period. So this was the profile for September, right? And we consolidated around that, and now pushing back towards the top of value for the month. Let's get to the small caps. I use small cap futures. You could use IWM too if you like. But yeah, it's trying to push to that upper range, right? And a couple of things that I noticed here on the 1 hour bar, a little bit of consolidation around this virgin point of control takeout, right? I call these are called VPOCs, right? An area of high volume that price is not revisited, right? If you're not familiar with this concept, it acts a lot like gaps do, right? We kind of like go up and we kind of fill this area where previous buyers and sellers have spent a lot of time and a lot of volume at previously where we haven't visited. What happens after we take this out? Unless there's really strong volume, there's usually digestion, right? And so we're digesting right around this previous volume node, version point of control, and then we'll see if we can get above this, later in the week, right, and kind of stretch up to 23.34. Now, what's particularly interesting is something that gets very little attention, and I like stuff sometimes that gets very little attention, which is the mid caps, right? Mid caps, we're not up as much, but take a look at what they're doing here. They're breaking out, right? So again, everybody, oh my God, what are the small caps doing? I can't wait for a breakout in the small caps. Well, if you look at the small caps big brother or big sister, and they're breaking out. So I think that's a pretty good sign. Similar type of range, maybe not as back and forth as the small caps have been, but I think pretty good looking to see this breakout as it is. Also, if you want to look at a couple other things too, you can look at the equally weighted S&P. So this is the S&P 500, but instead of market cap weighted like SPY or IVV looks at, it's equally weighted. So there's no bias. Right. Some people also call that unweighted. So every name gets the same weight, and that's also breaking out. Right. So breadth has really kind of picked up here. Here is the breadth for the day. If you want to look at the exact numbers, you can see for the Dow there was 18 advancers, 12 decliners. S&P 269 advancers versus 233. Not that much of a skew there, but more so for Nasdaq 1767, 1127. In terms of decliners for the day. Let's get back. So I think overall it's a pretty good picture, right, for what the indices are doing right now. Bonds were a non-factor for the day, very quiet. Gold, silver, both up almost 1% for the day, and the VIX fell over the session, down about 5.5% for the day, and almost below 15. So 1524 is where I saw the VIX close out for the day. So let's talk about three groups, and of course we'll talk about Tesla in just a second. But before we get to that, energy, right? So crude kind of gave a funky looking candle for the day. It did explore a higher level today, but not the best looking candle if you're bullish crude. However, it did not give back any of the but what's most important is the trend, right? Not so much the candle. Even though there's an ugly looking candle for crude, it is still holding above the 5-period moving average. So I think that the trend is still higher. Price action is good. Maybe got a little bit extended this morning. Look at what happened in nat gas futures today, up 13%. So again, this is kind of where my focus was in the beginning of the day, was watching what was going on in the energy space, because I love this pattern in XOP. So I was coming into today long Oxy. That worked very well. It was up 1.4% for the day. I actually took this position off. I just didn't want to see a reversal bar, and I stayed long XOP, which was a new position for me. Started buying that pre-market today, and that worked out really well. All right, so that's one group. Next group, consumer discretionary. Very strong, and that's because Tesla is now about a 20% weight in this thing. So Tesla, just humongous day. It kind of just looked like, and we talked about this. Sorry, let me finish my thought. It kind of looked like Tesla was changing shape a bit last week after earnings. It was changing personality, right? It's what we talked about in the weekend video. I actually had an earnings trade on last week for Tesla. It was an iron condor. This is back where Tesla was in here. It looked like it was a great trade on day one. And then what I've done before in Tesla, which I do when I have an earnings trade on where I'm looking to collect premium, which I did last week. I had a iron condor on, which we'll be doing a lot more of those types of earning trades, here and there, when I think some names have kind of run a certain amount, right? So I had that on. I was short a call spread, short a put spread. And once I saw that this thing had some momentum to it, I went and I bought stock in this thing. And I took this position. I took, because I was on vacation last week. I took my Tesla trading position off. Obviously, I still have that in the TTG trend portfolio. I've been holding that position for a while. But one of the things that I said this weekend was it looks like Tesla may have changed personalities a little bit. It's been methodical, right? Moving up, coming in a little bit, moving up has been a little bit harder of a name, even though has had nice performance, but it hasn't really been a name to chase. You really had to kind of pick and choose where you were going to accumulate this position. Into its 200-day moving average acted really well, but if you chased it a little bit, looking for a big breakout, you didn't really get it, right? But nevertheless, it still acted very well, even though it was a bit more methodical than it usually is and slower moving. But something changed last week, and after earnings, this thing really got going. And so I had said in the macro video, in the watch, we sent two videos out over the weekend. I said, watch for a little bit of digestion in this thing. I think it will be great to buy this. So, of course, didn't know that there was going to be several things that were going on in the stock today. Morgan Stanley upgrades their rate or raises their price target. The order from Hertz, which is their biggest order on record. And I think they had a couple other things going on too. There was an article too about the Model 3 is becoming bigger and bigger in Germany. Really a lot of catalysts with this. And then it's also in a good group, right? I mean, it is in the consumer discretionary group, but it's also, I think, considered a transportation stock too, which this group has been absolutely on fire, even though I don't think it did much today. But you look at what the trains have done, right? You look at what the trucking names have done, right? So this is a very good group to be in, even though it's not officially called a transport, which I believe it should be. But that's just my personal classification. But you look at names like UNP and NSE and CSX, very, very strong, and so have some of the auto part names, as well as some of the bigger manufacturers. So we'll see. And again, they have the lead on everybody. So leaders lead, right? And this is a big breakout for Tesla. So I'm very pleased with this, and that we've held it in the TTG trend portfolio, which we continue to rebalance. I actually rebalanced this week. So again, let me get back on track with just some of the concepts I wanted to talk about in this video. Consumer discretionary with Tesla now about 20%, one of your best performing groups right now. Also, right, I talked about conventional energy already. Well, what about clean energy, right? Is this starting to make its move, right? I like to look at the weekly chart in this, right? So take a look at the clean energy weekly chart. One thing to notice is that a couple times now we've seen this test the top of value, right? So this is the value area for all of 2021, which is based on 2020's price action. And you could see how well the support has been for the clean energy ETF. Right, we've come in and tested the $75, and it's held 3 times, and now this is the first time that we're back over the 20-day moving average. That is the that is the 20-day moving average. It is still below its 50-day moving average, but I like what's happening here. And this really kind of got a lot of names. Tesla, I think, got some names going today. Besides this, we saw just a lot of option activity in some of the short interest names, like the higher short interest names. Right, it felt like traders were trying to squeeze shorts again today. I view it more as buy squeezes than anything else, but I don't know. I don't think it matters how you classify some of this stuff, but when you jam order books with orders, it doesn't matter if there's short interest or not, right? It's going to move up, and we certainly saw a lot of order flow in some of the Chinese EV names as well. XPEV, which we saw a boatload of option activity about a week ago, best out of the 3 names here, but I think this LI looks pretty good. Right, little bit of digestion here, Sorry, not the Neo is the other one. But LI also saw some call activity today. 43 could be where this short-term target is for this one. So very strong, and then a whole bunch of other names too. We could probably go through about 15 names here, but a lot of them got going. FSR may be one to watch for tomorrow. Nice base going on in this one. LCID Lucid, another one too that's been basing for a while. Maybe finally extends and gets that 3147 VPOC. All right, so very strong, and of course you could look at ICLN too instead of the ETF that I brought up was PBW, which is clean energy. You could also bring up international clean energy too. Similar look to it. There's a decent amount of overlap too, but you could see the same thing. I like the PBW weekly chart a little bit better because it is not violated, not got into value at all. But no reason why this can't get going too. All right, so strong there, and then one of the last groups to talk about too is the crypto ETF or the blockchain ETF. You can see the weekly chart also looks pretty good. We've come over this this area, some nice volume in this recently, but this was a chart that we posted last week in the room, right? It got above value, not such a powerful candle there, didn't close on the highs, but today certainly closed on the highs. So just further adoption, right, in the crypto space. We're seeing a lot of things like Coin, right, which is a name that I talked about last week, took out a VPOC, digested, held the 5-day moving average, came in and took out another virgin point of control on the 1 hour. Actually did not take this out. Close, 327, but it's moving quite nicely. Then there's this stock, BKKT, which is up to hit $40 here after hours. This is also in that ETF, believe it or not. Here's the movers today in the crypto blockchain ETF. BKKT was up 234%. HUT is another one, continues to see option activity. I actually went long, so I just bit the bullet today and went long this thing. It's just had such strong momentum, nice volume in the breakout. So yes, I'm playing a breakout. Not the best, most strategic area to get long, but the way that there's momentum in this market, I don't mind starting a position here, and then maybe looking to add to it once we get a little bit of volatility. Maybe if it comes back in, if we hear about some type of regulation or something, that happens all the time in the space. All right, so those were definitely some of the areas that were strong today. And then also last group, if I said last group already, I apologize. But then look at what the metals and mining look like too, right? Another group showing some strength, right? So again, more participation going on in this market. The XME ETF, if you're not familiar with it, is an equally weighted metal and mining. So you've got some steel names in here. You've got some gold miners. You've got some things like FCX in here, which I thought looked pretty good today. Up 4.4%. Spent some time digesting above value here. I am still long FCX after I took a couple targets. I got long inside here, and it's worked pretty well for me. I also got long Alcoa today. I've been watching this. Alcoa has been moving very methodically, higher. Moves up, profit taking and move back into the 50-day moving average. Here we saw this again, VPOC takeout, digestion, move back, try to make new highs, didn't here, came back to the 50-day moving average, broke out again, took out another virgin point of control right around earnings, moved up on, this was the move on earnings, came in, filled the earnings gap, and bounced. So that was one of my first trades for the day. It was one of the watch list names, and looked pretty good. But then if you want to look across the steel names too, CLF also had a really nice earnings move. That's on our earnings gap list that we're keeping tabs on and managing, sending out to members. STLD, which is one of my favorites in the space. Nice move above value. ATKR, I don't know if this closed. It closed right around the top of value. I would watch that 95 level. Right, the IBD list loves this name, so we'll see if that can get above 95. But I like the STLD personally, and I like the move that's taking place in in Cliffs Resources. All right, so again, we just covered like 4 or 5 different groups, and pretty cool. And then some of the areas that I didn't cover today, I think you want to pay attention to what's going on in the financials, right? Even though they had a quiet day, the way that this market has been going since we started, I should say for the last couple weeks, is we see one or two groups or three groups run very nice, and then they kind of digest, and then another group, and then the other group that was hot takes over. So, very very nice market to kind of trade right now. From a trading standpoint, again, I always show all of my trades in the room. Whenever you're watching one of these videos, I don't know anybody else who does this, but I always show all my trades to you so that you could see at the end of the day. Obviously, if you're a member of Tribeca Trade Group, you get to see what I'm doing throughout the day, and you get the position sheet, which I update and also send out a midday video talking about positions that I took and what I'm thinking with some of those positions. ASAN was a name that we got long on Friday. One of our TTG members brought this to my attention. I took my profits, like I said, on the open with some trades this morning that kind of gapped into some strength. I got lucky with this PayPal trade, right? I sold some premium. I just thought that this thing going on with this deal going on with Pinterest, we did not hear from PayPal about it. It just did not make sense to me at all, and they came out today and said we're not interested in them right now. So this trade paid for me today. I sold puts, so I sold the put spread, collected premium, bought that back for cheaper today, right? So collected some premium. FTNT didn't close exactly the way I wanted it to, and it's made a nice run. So I just took my profits and ran today, right? It actually finished down 1%. I don't like to see those after a decent run like that. I don't like to see a reversal bar. So, I took some profits, I think at 345, was it? 340, right? And then I took the rest of this trade off. Live to fight another day. And, this week is a huge week. We get 30% of the companies that are in the S&P report this week, and 30% of the companies in the Nasdaq 100 in the Qs report this week. So I have no problem taking some trades off for profits. INMD, which reports tomorrow morning, I kept a small slice of that trade on. That's a name that I've been long for a while. Did very well. A couple other things I decided to take off. Again, I have no problem. I don't want to be super greedy this week. Right? Affirm hit some profit targets in this one. Again, I'm long this one in the TTG trend, but in my trading account, I'm okay with taking this trade off here. Upstart, I actually added to this on the bounce today. Ultimate stop will be right below that 20-day moving average and top of value, which is right around 337. So I like this little pattern, move back into support and a bounce. We'll see if it wants to continue to go higher and maybe return to those new highs. That would be awesome if that's the case. What else? SIBO, I added this trade as well. We've seen these exchange stocks, right? The exchange stocks as well as the private equity stocks have just been on fire. SIBO, I don't think it closed very well, but still higher, right? NASDAQ is the other one that I've been mentioning. I think this NASDAQ looks pretty good here, by the way, right? And then things like, talk about a group that just doesn't get that much attention. Look at what Blackstone has done since they reported earnings at the end of last week. Apollo has been on an absolute tear along with KKR. Just doesn't get much attention, but what a move. We also talked about Olin, right? So again, just kind of covering a couple different names, but look at the gap up after Olin reported earnings, right? Another name in the TTG trend portfolio. All right, so that's it. I think we covered enough of names, but awesome way to start the week, and I look forward to the rest of the week, as well as at some point this week. I did a lot of trading today, but took off one loser too. Cisco just wasn't working. But really, what I want to do for the rest of the week is do some observing. Right? I want to watch to see what names, what groups are going to be your leaders for the next quarter. Right? So some of which we will be trading things, some of which we will be observing. And not taking too much excess risk on earnings, and really just following along with the price action, right? Finding the names that just want to go where they want to go and not forcing trades. All right, guys, have a great Monday night, and I'll see you guys back bright and early tomorrow morning.